Hello and welcome to another Runewars battle report. This is the fourth game that I played at the UK Nationals against Justin and his Latari, so another mirror match. Let's see if I fare any better. Here are our lists. Mine is on the left, my fairly standard list, and this is Justin's list. Was quite interesting. Two 1x3s of Leonx Riders with column tactics, Aliana with Pack Leader, Spear and Ambush Predator, two units of 2x1 archers with Hunter's Guile, a single Scion, and a 2x2 of Darnati with a Verdant Sorceress. We are playing Demoralize Their Forces again, and I believe we had the same deployment as well, so another meeting engagement. Here we have our deployments. You can't actually see. I've got my Leonx over here on the far left. Scion, Archer, Archer, Scion, and Aliana. I tried to put it here because that was where his archers were going to be. He's got his two columns of Leonx over there. Darnati, Scion, Aliana, Archer, Archer. This is overgrown terrain. This one is also overgrown. This fissure, which is unfortunate because I don't want to go anywhere near it. And his Scion and his Leonx. So here's the board state at the end of the first turn. Now things aren't looking too bad for me. He's moved his archers up here into this piece of terrain. Been quite cautious here. I've moved myself so I could shoot at something next turn. Now I've moved these guys right up here. Now I know I'm going to take a damage from it, from this fissure. But I figure for a couple of turns I can afford to lose the odd archer if it means I'm whittling away at his Darnati warriors. I've kept my Scion away from damage range of this, and I've actually been able to move my Leonx to give myself a fairly easy flank charge over here. Next turn, his are coming down this flank. To turn 2, we have 3 green runes. And I've lost a couple of warriors here from the fissure. So here I go. I charge in. I'm not quite able to wipe him out in one blow, but I get an objective token for that. He's pushed this Scion right up here to try and keep me busy. And he's reformed his Leonx on this side, bringing another Scion round here. Pushed his Darnati up. My archers open fire and kill a few warriors. This Scion has moved a bit, trying to get away from the fissure, and to be honest I can't even remember why he was going there. I think maybe so I could try and shoot this last guy off and get a late move on my riders to get them back in. I shoot with my big unit, kill a few of these, and then win rune backwards. Back to safety. These guys have moved back out of the terrain. I take a shot and stun his Scion here. My Aliana has moved right up. I'm trying to put pressure on his archers. This is the board state. I think his Aliana is coming in here, getting herself ready to get stuck into my force as well. Turn 3, some decent runes for the Storm Sorceress if ever she wanted to do anything. A couple of greens. He has initiative, so he attacks first with his Leonx, I do believe. I go crashing in. His Leonx doesn't do anything. I go crashing in with my Scion to try and kill him. I've moved this Scion around to here. Now I put in a charge just in case he'd gone early with his Aliana. I don't really care about the panic token, but one thing that I hadn't thought of, which is true here, is I've now given him my flank, which is basically 20 victory points. So if we go back a slide, this Scion here has a stun token. Now, he'd dialed in a charge, a turning charge, which gets him into the side of these guys. I only realised too late, remembered that he had a stun token. By that point, we'd moved. So that's on me to try and keep track of these stun tokens a bit better. I'm still learning how to use the sirens. They give out stuns, and I've now then got to keep in mind that they're there. So they've gone in, he went in, did some damage, and my archers then opened fire and took him out. But the unfortunate thing is these guys are now stunned and immobilized and sat next to a Demorian Fisher, which is not great for me. Now, I got greedy round about this point. Now, this guy's moved up, and my Aliana, I'm basically trying to make it so his archers can't get to me, and also there is a big column of Leonx riders putting pressure on me from this side, so I've just shifted away here instead of actually just getting stuck in and trying to charge his archers. My Leonx riders have reformed to try and get back into the fight. His Aliana has charged in, and actually... No, she wipes him out. She wipes out my tree quite convincingly. But does pick up an immobilized token for her troubles. And I think this is the state of play. Now here I am fairly in a good position. Now maybe I wasn't able to charge this turn, but I put myself in a very good position to take out some archers. These guys are whittled down, have been whittled down. I've got my Leonx able to come in. And at this point, I'm thinking I'm in a fairly okay position. Sure, I've got his Aliana ready to come in here, but he does have an immobilize token, and I can probably get a decent wind rune out of here. So into the next turn, a double green for the wind rune. That's fairly good. So she just rallies and armors up. They just sort of try and face my Leonx so that they can't get the flank charge. You'll notice his archers have popped back in here. His tree's coming up to help support her. Now, we're getting quite late in the initiative at this point. Now, I don't know why I didn't just take the early charge here with Aliana. You'll see on her dial, I've dialed in the double shift, 2 and 2, mostly because I was scared of these guys coming in. But if I'd just charged in, she would have been out of the way. I would have, even at this point, I would have one-shotted this unit quite comfortably and been in a position to then dance around the back. Sure, I would have taken a couple of shots from these guys, but not before I'd got into them. Because as it stands, he had dialed in a move with his archers. So he moved in and got in contact with me. Now, that means that I can only shift backwards, which is not good. Not good at all. I couldn't shift sideways like I was planning to do to get stuck into this part of his army. So instead I've had to shift all the way back here. Now, the reason I did a double shift, this is a couple moves down the way, is that these guys were pointing to where I would have been. So I had to double shift, which meant that he then reformed to be pointing this way, and I'm now in a whole heap of trouble. My archers have tried to wind rune away from his Aliana as best as they could, but yeah, I'm now in a terrible position of all the flank charges in the world. These guys at least have shifted away from this Demorian Fisher. And we go into the next turn. So his Aliana goes in, funnily enough, does a good old job on me. The only thing I could do this early in the turn to try and save my Aliana was to rally and get my defense up. There was nothing I had before these guys with the Raven Tabbers would be... Oh, they didn't have Raven Tabbers, but given how close we were, you know, they've got that 2 charge very early on their dial, and he had initiative, because I do have that move here, but because he had initiative, the only thing I could do was to armor up, which was really unfortunate, because they just go in and absolutely smash her. I go in and don't quite clear out his unit of... because of the panic test, I then had to... the panic that he put on me, I had to turn and face. Notice the trays are still there. That's just because it's quite clunky. I've textured them, and taking them off is quite difficult. We're into the 6th turn. And at this point, I know the game's got away from me. His Donati attack do a bit of damage. I actually don't get a great roll this turn, and he's still got 2 Donati Warriors left. I'm also getting shot by his archers, who are just sat in that overgrown thing, so they're rolling a white and a blue. This guy's just trying to move around, maybe by the end of the game put some pressure on there, but that's not going to happen. Yeah, they charge in, wipe out the rest of my archers. Here we go, this is the board state. It went from a really promising position to terrible. To turn 7, things will speed up here because there's not a lot I can do. I finally finish off his Donati Warriors. He's just sort of running away, trying to keep out of range here. I've taken a couple of wounds. I'm just turning away to try and run. He's moving some archers up to put some pressure on me, turning his forces round here. I reckon they can keep safe from his Aliana by the end of it. I'm just running away. He's repositioning. So my Leonks keep trying to move away. You'll see my Scion at the top here is still running, and that's sort of where the game ended. With all the flank charges and rear charges he pulled off, he got 252 victory points from my 200-point army. I did manage 116 with a couple of flank charges, and I did get quite a few points off him here and there, but that's a 2-9 loss to end the tournament on. A couple of key moments in that game were me forgetting the stun token for the Scion charge, and more importantly, getting greedy with Aliana when I should have just charged her in. It would have taken his Leonks away from my archers, who might have been able to secure something down there, and get myself a bit busier. If I'd been able to get my Leonks around a bit faster as well on the left hand side, that would have been better, but ifs, buts and maybes really. I'm still learning, I'm getting better. I was much happy with how I used my Leonks in that game. Marginally happy with how I used my Scions, but it was just the damage output was lacking on the archers. 4 games over the weekend. I must have rolled that damn blue dice for the Storm Sorceress 4 times, almost 30 times, and I think it came off twice, which I know is a statistical anomaly, but still, that's not happening again. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you at the next battle report.